wanted to tell the story of basically just being a guy that loved professional wrestling his entire life and was always told he was too small to do it. And so I joined the amateur wrestling team, and I was in the lower weight classes, and I joined a professional wrestling school, and I was trained, and I did everything I could to get good at pro wrestling, but I was always constantly told how small I was before the modern era of guys, where guys aren't as enormous or giant as they were in the 80s and mid 90s. And I finally I worked my way to the middle position where I got good enough to be a WWE extra, and they were clearly not going to take any looks at me because I was not what they were looking for at that point in time. But my hero was Bret the Hitman Hart. The reason I joined the amateur wrestling team instead of being in the backyard doing backyard wrestling with my friends was because Bret Hart said, don't do that. Bret Hart was like, no, join your high school's wrestling team. Don't do backyard wrestling. So I did. I got to be an extra right around the time that Vince McMahon and Bret Hart were building towards the WrestleMania match. And I'll never forget, we did our little workout in the morning, and they walked up and they were like, okay, so these are the guys that we want to use, and you guys did okay. And the guys that we chose, and I was one of them, luckily enough, he goes, you guys, tonight you're going to be working with Bret. And I just remember pausing and thinking, Bret Hart? I freaked out. I had to sit there and stew on it and think about how I got to get in the ring and do something with Bret Hart. And so my hero and the guy that got me to the reason of becoming a state champion amateur wrestler and doing any of this or even attempting it was there. I got to get in there, and I got to take a few punches from Bret Hart. I got to be one of the security guards that pulled him off of Vince McMahon when he did this run-in things, slid in instead of beat him up from behind. And getting beat up by Bret Hart, no matter what happened at any point before or after that, I never cared about what I accomplished or anything that I did in wrestling after that, because to me, as a little kid that wanted to be a wrestler because of Bret the Hitman Hart.
What a great message. Thank you for sending that. And I would say that's a small victory. Putting so much time into professional wrestling. When I do training seminars, I always tell people to have short-term goals, because the amount of dopamine that will hit once you earn a goal is rewarding. So if you go into wrestling school and your only goal is, I want to be a WWE superstar, I want to be an AEW superstar, I want to be in the main event of Double or Nothing or WrestleMania, you might do it, but there's such a small chance that you are the person that will do it. But if you say to yourself, I want to be able to do a hip toss, then you do a good hip toss. Exciting. And so for this person to want to get into wrestling, and also the idea of their love of Bret Hart, and to be able to work with Bret Hart in some kind of way or fashion, even after Bret Hart, years after, I think it was 10 years after being forced to retire. So that was probably never going to happen. They knew that would never happen. And amazing that, I don't know, the stars aligned maybe. It was meant to be. And that's a success. That's a small victory, a huge victory for this person. But in the grand scheme of things, what a great victory for this person, this caller, this wrestler, to achieve that moment. And it was probably a great moment in their life. Hey, thanks for watching. That call was part of a whole podcast called Wrestling Anonymous. Listen to the whole thing weekly wherever you listen to your podcast. Go subscribe. While you're at it, subscribe right here on YouTube to Colt Cabana's channel. Thank you.